Hi everyone, Layla here with Active Learning. So a question that keeps getting asked, and it's a hot topic, and it's among all ages, but especially among university students, how do we balance school life, work life, and social life? So I'm just gonna talk about it briefly from what I've experienced and what some other people have said and what I've seen with my friends, my colleagues. There is never a perfect balance, just going to put it out there. There's never going to be a perfect proportion of, your school time and your work time and your lifetime, because one always kind of takes dominance over the other. But your job is to kind of keep them in place, make sure that one doesn't exceed over the other. That's how I see it as a balance. So it doesn't mean that, you're going to spend 20 minutes studying and 20 minutes working, 20 minutes talking. No, that's perfect, and perfect does not exist. So it's basically trying to figure out when to prioritize which three aspects of your life. And in university, school life is there for sure, but then the rest of your life, you're trying to balance your work life, your family life, your social life. You're always balancing certain lives. It's like one of my profs said, if you had 3 jars, and you have to fill them up, but you have to make sure that they're somewhat even. So basically, what advice I can give based on what I had is, in school, yes, you're in school and you want to work hard and you want to participate and engage and you want to study well and get good grades, get scholarships. All that's important. But you also need to make sure that you can't sacrifice your work life, nor your social life, for your school life. So some people go full on and they study for like 10 years and they get their PhD and then they come out and the market's bad and they're like waitressing at McDonald's or something. That's a stereotype, but it's happened, and I've seen people go through that, and it's tragic because they're so educated and they're so overqualified, but there are no jobs, and because they haven't worked while they were studying, they have no experience. So employers, they expect you to get education and work at the same time, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's the way it goes. So that's the way, you have to make it work. So yes, you have to study, but you also need to make sure that you have a part-time job. If you can figure out your courses, maybe more a full-time job on the side. Doesn't matter what it is. As long as you're working, it would be better if it was in your sphere. For sure, that would help if you can get internships, if you can, be teacher assistant at university. That's fantastic. If you can't, get something else. Try something else. Work part-time. If you're good at your subject, tutor in that subject. So it's important to balance those two. And then social life also is very important, but in my case, for example, there's a difference between hanging out with your friends on a weekly basis and then partying hard like there's no tomorrow every weekend. So I feel like the range is quite extreme. So you need to figure out what social life means for you. For some people, it's, having a cup of coffee once a week with your friend is good enough. You don't need to be the queen and, like popular, Miss Popular. It's not true in university anyways. So whatever social life means for you, especially now, there's not a whole lot of social life, which is quite sad because of the pandemic, but you can still meet with your friends, whether it's online or whether you're in university and you have labs together or whatever it is. You can still find time to maintain some sort of social life. But if you have, let's say, a test you need to study for, you have a giant midterm, or you have a huge paper, you have a final, 2,000 word essay, whatever it is, that is not the time to remember that you have to balance your social life and go drinking instead of writing your paper. No, that's the time when you say, okay, you guys can kind of chill out for a sec. I'm going to focus on my studies to make that work. If you have a project that's due at work and you might get a promotion or whatever it is, that's the time to kind of say, okay, let me back out, not quit the other two, but kind of ease in a little and focus on that one thing. And you got to ask, what do I do when everything kind of gets in the way? It's overwhelming. It's up to every person. Some people are better at managing that. Some people are worse. Some people manage it vocally. Some people manage it internally. But I think just taking it one thing at a time. If you are, if you have 6 midterms in school, and then if at work it's super busy and you are having, family issues or whatever issues, it all gets together and it's overwhelming and it's hard, but you need to try to focus on one thing at a time. Instead of trying to deal with all three things simultaneously, it's just going to stress you out more. It's going to overwhelm you. It's going to exhaust you. So pick out whatever is most important at that point in time and focus on that one thing and then move on to the next. So that's kind of how I see the whole balance game. It's never going to be this perfect picture. It's going to look bad sometimes. It's going to look great sometimes. But it's just about having an equal amount of each of the three jars, as we said at the beginning, and making sure that one doesn't overflow while the others are just empty. So that's kind of my outlook on how we try to balance at least our school life, our work life, and our social life.